He's a huge global superstar, except in the United States. But, maybe this movie will make him one here as well. It's Robbie Williams in the somewhat unconventional rock star biopic Better Man.
It's been such a fun time for really out of the box music biopics, right? Like in a year where we have A Complete Unknown, which is very traditional in a lot of ways. We have Piece by Piece, which is the Lego animated Pharrell movie. We have this now, Better Man, with Robbie Williams being played by a chimp.
For the next 2 hours, your ass is mine!
To be honest, I've always been a little less evolved.
Robbie Williams, huge superstar in the UK, and in telling his story, which he is very much a part of, he is alive and he is with us and he is telling his story. It's not him, it's not his face, it is a chimp. And so he's narrating it.
A performing monkey.
Right. There's an actor named Jonno Davies who is doing like the motion capture of this. This is from director Michael Gracey, who also did The Greatest Showman, which I didn't realize as I was watching it. But in retrospect, I'm like, oh, this makes sense. Just in like the extravaganza, razzle dazzle qualities of this movie, and just like the playfulness with form and just how extremely over the top it is in very showmanship kind of ways. So it follows Robbie Williams from his childhood, growing up kind of working class in Britain. And it's about how from his earliest days, like he knew he wanted to be a star, and his father had these aspirations of glory, but was sort of like a schmaltzy kind of lounge singer type who worshipped Sinatra and Dean Martin and those types. So from his earliest days, he had this idea in mind where to get his father's attention and love, or just to spend any time with him, he had to also be a part of this. But he has actual talent. And so he tries out for this boy band, which ends up becoming Take That, which like I have no great memories of Take That. Again,
they're enormous in the UK, barely made a blip in the United States.
So if you're watching us from elsewhere and Take That was formative to you as a teenager, please tell us about that, because they just seem like they seem like British like New Kids on the Block. Like there's 5 of them and like they're blandly handsome and they dance in unison and
the boy band thing exploded in the States as much as it did over there, but that was like Westlife and Take That. And there were a bunch of British ones that just didn't really, unless you were really paying attention hardcore, like as far as like the pop charts, 98 Degrees had a bigger footprint in the US, but that's just, how that went.
Right. This is not NSYNC or Backstreet Boys.
Yeah.
So, but as is the case so often with boy bands, there's one person who wants to go off on his own and have a solo career.
At least one.
Right. So Robbie Williams, I think always sort of clashed with them. In this telling, he sort of clashed with them, becomes this huge superstar, meets the woman who will become his wife briefly, Nicole Appleton from All Saints, a girl band that I also had never heard of in my life, but maybe they were big in the UK around this time. And it's like telling his life story through the songs, and it is chronological and it's very traditional structurally, but it takes this wild swing in having him being portrayed as a chimp, and it sticks to that conceit the whole way through, and it's seamless. I mean, like nobody ever comments on it.
Yeah.
He addresses it in like an opening narration, like this is how I see myself, and that explains the approach, but like it never deviates from that. No one comments on like, oh, you're a chimp. Everyone, addresses him as if he were Robbie Williams.
Yeah. And you kind of forget about it after a while. He just
so
is,
well done.
I will say this. You say that it occurs chronologically. The story is told chronologically, but as with Rocket Man, the songs are not necessarily chronological. True. So like, this movie has, I was going to go ahead and say it, my favorite sequence of any film this year. I wish I loved the rest of the movie as much as I love this one scene. But the scene where Take That first becomes successful and we get the big We're Stars Now montage, it's in this one big uninterrupted shot on this sort of like busy London thoroughfare whose name I'm now forgetting. And the song is Rock DJ, which was a solo hit for Williams later. It wasn't a Take That song.
Right.
But it captures that moment and the sort of exhilaration and thrill of that moment so well. That sequence, literally, I could feel the hairs on my head like standing up. Nothing in Wicked thrilled me as much as the Rock DJ sequence of Better Man. The rest of Better Man is, fine.
Yeah. When that number started, I'm like, oh, this is the thing Alonso's been talking about. I knew very, very quickly because it's so alive and it's so fluid, and it's one take. Of course, there's a great deal of special effects to pull this off, but like it just keeps building and building, and like they've changed the song a little bit in ways that are really fun in terms of the pacing. And it just kept dazzling me over and over again. It's like an old school razzle dazzle musical number, but with like the heightened effects that we can achieve now through CGI. So it's so well done. It's so fun. It's so crazy. And that's the Michael Gracey, The Greatest Showman part of this here. Well, that also exists in the number where he meets Nicole and they do She's the One, which they've turned into a duet here.
Oh, on the yacht.
And the way that's edited tells its own little self-contained story so beautifully, and it has this gorgeous, very acrobatic dance choreography that is like something out of that Rewrite the Stars aerial segment of Greatest Showman. So it's really, really fun for a while. I hate the way it ends.
Well, what's crazy about this movie is that usually with these biopics, there is this underlying idea of like, but I'm an artist. Like maybe I was, a hot thing for a moment, but deep down, like I'm a creative, I'm an artist, I'm a musician. And Robbie Williams, and this is him this movie is all him. I mean, he's providing his own voice. He's clearly like had a say on everything. The whole movie kind of exists to be like, yeah, I've always been kind of a hack, but I've been a good sort of hammy on-stage presence. And that's really all I ever wanted to be. And the rest of it was just sort of by the by. So I was kind of like, okay, if that's what you want to say to the world, that you are just this sort of like, you are your dad, you would have been perfectly happy singing Rat Pack covers your entire life, then good on you, be happy, man.
Yeah, but it does hit all those biopic tropes of like the rise and the fall and the rise and the drug abuse. And I admire his candor. Like so often we complain about when there's a biopic or when there's a documentary about somebody who was alive and who was like offered as catalog. Like, it is fawning. This is not.
No.
He's really candid about like, I was awful. Here is a litany of ways in which I was awful. I was, and I admire like the chutzpah of that, and just the whole idea of him being portrayed by a chimp. He's like taking the piss out of his own pretty boy, bad boy rock star image.
For sure. I mean, there are obviously, I think, some things that he says about other people that they might have another take on. I'm sure you could get 5 different Take That movies and have different perspectives from the different band members about, who was an asshole and who was a genius or whatever. And there's some stuff about like his wife and her choices where I'm kind of like, did she sign off on you talking about this? Because I feel like I don't want to know this. But, it definitely does not feel, self-aggrandizing the way that so many other movies of this ilk do. I'll give it that. I take it you probably liked Greatest Showman a lot more than I did.
No, I didn't, but I appreciate like the glossy razzle dazzle of it. I appreciate, and some of those songs are good. Like Rewrite the Stars is a great song. But I did not really like that movie. I know it became a massive phenomenon. But I appreciate there's like an old school kind of, put on a show like that. I really appreciate
the big flashy moments land. And I think he's sort of like, I have a suspicion that, I don't know if he comes from music video, but like if you, as a music video guy, that he would be Vincent Minnelli, for 4 minutes. But I don't know that what he does sustains over the course of a feature film. And that was sort of the same problem I had with this one.
He had last up with Pink.
Yeah, a lot of peak. Oh, on video. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, that's his music video background that you're referring to.
Yeah. So his movies are a handful of peaks and a lot of valleys, I think.
The ending is a thing that actually happened. They have recreated a concert moment that actually happened,
Uh-huh.
but they've embellished it in such a wildly schmaltzy way,
Mhm.
and it just keeps going and going and going that I felt it was unnecessary. And if you go back and you watch the YouTube video of what that concert was actually like, there's enough inherent drama in that moment that they don't need to do what they do in this movie.
They
So
gild
it
the
had me
lily.
for a while, but like it's a hat on a hat, as you would say.
Right.
But yeah, and the thing you're referring to with the wife, that is well documented.
Oh, okay. All right.
The thing that she had to do is well
Gotcha.
documented. Raechelle Banno is the actress who plays her. I thought she was kind
Gotcha.
of lovely too. So I was surprised at how much I enjoyed this. It's kind of nuts and bonkers, and it goes for it, and good for them.
See this in a theater just for that scene, because I've sent people to movies for less. But yeah, it's fine, and I do think it's going to be interesting to see, like, will enough people in the United States care about this enough to go see it when most people in the United States have no real idea who Robbie Williams even is.
Yeah. All right. Which number then?
I'll say like a 6.8. Enough strong stuff in there that's worth seeing, but I think doesn't quite, maintain it for the whole thing.
Yeah, I'll say 7. It's very entertaining. It hits the tropes, but does so in an entertaining way. So, Better Man is in theaters now. Go check it out.